Young Miami is not just panicking, she is unraveling. The entire internet is watching in real time as 50 Cent's new Diddy documentary cracks open a vault of secrets that many believed would never see daylight. And now, according to insiders, investigators are circling her name with a red marker. The whispers have turned into headlines. The headlines have turned into fury. Social media is calling it the fall of an empire built on silence. And the silence is finally breaking. What nobody expected was that young Miami would be standing this close to the epicenter of Diddy's alleged crimes. She was celebrating loudly, almost triumphantly, when Diddy evaded those earlier RICO charges. Now people are saying she celebrated because she needed him free, because if he fell, she would fall right beside him. And honestly, the puzzle pieces fit a little too perfectly. The deeper you dig, the clearer it becomes that she was not just a girlfriend collecting luxury bags and monthly checks. She was intertwined with the machinery behind the scenes, gears turning in the dark, smiling for the cameras while something sinister brewed beneath. Reports say she received over $250,000 each month, plus endless gifts, jewelry, cars, trips, and allowances. But the documentary hints that this was never payment for companionship. It was payment for cooperation. Payment for silence. Payment for something she never expected the world to discover. And everything exploded when Lil Rod's lawsuit dropped like a nuclear bomb. That legal document did not just expose Diddy. It pulled young Miami into a spotlight far more brutal than the one she was used to. Suddenly the glamorous influencer aesthetic cracked apart, revealing a role nobody imagined for her. According to the lawsuit, young Miami was not just participating, she was allegedly recruiting. Fans online are calling her the freak-off gatekeeper, accusing her of luring people into Diddy's private world. And the most terrifying part? The lawsuit claims she used family ties to make the trap seem safe. This is the point where the internet collectively gasped, because betrayal from a stranger is one thing, betrayal from blood is another. Lil Rod describes a night in 2022 that has now become infamous. He believed he was arriving at an elegant, all-white Thanksgiving event to discuss music. A career moment. A creative opportunity. But if there is one thing the world now understands about Diddy, it is that nothing in his universe happens without hidden strings. According to Lil Rod, Diddy drugged his drink. And while he stumbled into the restroom, dizzy and disoriented, the door swung open. Young Miami's cousin allegedly stood there, looking at him like a target rather than a person. And what happened next, the unwanted acts, the violation he described, has left social media in complete shock. People online are saying, this is no longer gossip. This is horror. Others are asking, how did this stay hidden for so long? As the investigation tightens, young Miami's name keeps resurfacing. Not as a victim. Not as a bystander. But as someone who allegedly helped maintain the machine. And if even a fraction of what is being claimed turns out to be true, she is facing the kind of downfall that does not end with a broken career, it ends with handcuffs. The lawsuit does not slow down for even a moment. It grows darker, heavier, and far more disturbing with every sentence. According to Lil Rod, what happened in that restroom was only the beginning. He claimed that after he pushed young Miami's cousin away and escaped into the hallway, she followed him like a shadow he could not outrun. He said she allegedly undressed herself right there and attempted to climb onto him in front of Diddy, who stood nearby watching everything unfold with a silence that felt colder than any threat. This moment, this chilling snapshot described in the lawsuit, has become the centerpiece of countless online debates. People on social media are saying things like, this is not nightlife drama anymore, this is a criminal labyrinth. And then comes the twist that nobody saw coming. Lil Rod claimed that young Miami was not just a participant in Diddy's world, she was allegedly on the payroll as one of his workers. The documentary suggests that the operation ran like a well-oiled machine, and standing behind the financial curtain was Robin Greenhill, the accountant who allegedly handled the wire transfers, cash envelopes, and every quiet transaction meant to keep this empire in motion. Names like Frankie Santella, Moy Bond, Brendan Paul, and KK appear again and again, the alleged couriers responsible for distributing cash to workers who kept Diddy's secret lifestyle running. And right there on the list, alongside Jade and Daphne Joy, is young Miami. She allegedly received monthly payments routed directly through Robin Greenhill's transactions, which prosecutors now argue reveal the architecture of an organized, ongoing criminal network. This is the part of the story where the internet collectively understood why young Miami always seemed to be treated differently from the other women in Diddy's orbit. She did not simply stand beside him at parties, smiling for photographs and whispering inside jokes. According to insiders, she was allegedly recruiting women for his events, preparing spaces, creating environments, and acting as the bridge that brought new faces into Diddy's infamous and secretive gatherings. The most shocking allegation is that she acted as a mule, transporting large quantities of something called pink, a substance prosecutors say was always present whenever Diddy hosted his notorious freak-off sessions. And if that does not make your heart stop for a moment, consider this: when Diddy was arrested, investigators reportedly found some of this pink inside his hotel room, alongside stacks of baby oil bottles and lube, as if another freak-off was already being prepared. At first, people assumed pink was just an expensive, flashy nickname for regular substances. But then Jaguar Wright entered the conversation again. She has been calling out the darkness in Diddy's world long before most people were brave enough to look. According to her, pink is far more dangerous, far more addictive, and far more destructive than anyone initially believed. And Jaguar was the first person to question why Diddy would ever pay Young Miami nearly $500,000 a month unless she was deeply involved in activities far more sinister than public appearances and cute social media moments. But here is where the story takes a disturbing turn that separates Young Miami from the survivors now speaking out. Unlike Diddy's actual victims, the lawsuit suggests she was never forced into anything. She allegedly participated willingly, enjoyed the lifestyle, and collected enormous payments in exchange for her involvement. And this is not speculation from anonymous sources. Young Miami herself publicly volunteered details about her preferences on her own show. She sat on camera, smiling, laughing, and openly bragging about how much she enjoyed golden showers. Meanwhile, Cassie had to testify in a courtroom about how traumatizing, humiliating, and degrading the same act felt when Diddy forced it on her. The contrast hit social media like a brick wall. The moment that clip resurfaced, the hashtag P. Diddy started trending across Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and every corner of the internet that thrives on scandal. Thousands of users expressed disgust, confusion, and disbelief. Some said, there is a difference between consent and conditioning, and the documentary shows a terrifying line between the two. Others accused Young Miami of glamorizing acts that allegedly destroyed the mental health of other women trapped in Diddy's world. For many viewers, it was the first time they understood the depth of the chaos swirling behind the scenes. And now, as each new detail surfaces, the documentary is painting a picture of a world built on exploitation, secrecy, and breathtaking corruption. Young Miami is no longer viewed as a glamorous influencer caught in somebody else's downfall. She is being recast in real time as a central figure in a story that grows more shocking every single day. And while the world kept replaying Young Miami's chaotic show clips from Kershaw Please, Jaguar Wright stepped forward with a revelation so unnerving that it froze the internet mid-scroll. According to Jaguar, that title is not just branding, not just a catchy phrase tossed around for aesthetic value. She claimed it as something far darker. Something whispered at Diddy's infamous freak-off gatherings, something begged or sobbed in moments where pleasure allegedly twisted into confusion, and confusion spiraled into coercion. Jaguar said that Kershaw Please is what people, girls and boys alike, would say when Young Miami and Diddy were playing with them. And once that idea sinks into your mind, once you allow it to sit there, it becomes impossible to unsee. Suddenly, the phrase feels less like a quirky title and more like a confession hidden in plain sight. Every clip, every promo, every joke Miami ever made under that brand begins to warp into a different shape entirely. But the real turning point came during one of the most unhinged online meltdowns the industry has ever witnessed. Young Miami and Gina Huynh, Diddy's other alleged side piece, were at each other's throats on social media, no metaphors, no subtlety, no restraint. Miami threw the kind of verbal punch that makes the entire internet stop breathing for a moment. She practically bragged that she had power over Gina's body, power so absolute that if she wanted Gina on her knees, Diddy could make it happen with just one phone call. And she did not present this claim symbolically. She did not soften it with euphemisms. She delivered it with cold clarity. The exact words she used were, "If I wanted you to eat my coochie, Diddy would have you on your knees. Be ****H, you are an eater." Let that sit with you for a moment. That is not language used by an innocent bystander. That is not the tone of someone who is confused, manipulated, or unaware of the system she may be standing inside. That is the voice of someone who knows the hierarchy, who understands the power dynamics, who has seen what happens in those rooms, and who feels comfortable enough to weaponize that knowledge during a public argument. It is the kind of statement that makes people whisper, "She knows more than she lets on," because honestly, who would make that threat unless they were absolutely certain it reflected real authority? This is where the internet split itself in half. One camp defended Miami, claiming it was normal industry trash talk, the kind celebrities throw at each other when egos clash. But the other camp, the growing camp, pointed out that normal trash talk does not involve threatening to force a sexual act through the influence of a billionaire mogul who is now surrounded by allegations of trafficking, coercion, and organized exploitation. There is arguing, and then there is admitting something without meaning to. And Miami's statement fits disturbingly well within the pattern of accusations currently stacked against Diddy like dominoes waiting for someone to breathe wrong. Then came the moment that sent shockwaves through the entire entertainment world. Diddy slipped out of RICO charges almost effortlessly. Lawyers called it a miracle. Commentators called it suspicious. Ordinary people called it a reminder of how powerful men always seem to land on their feet. The timelines exploded with confusion and outrage. But while everyone else was still processing the news, young Miami sprinted to her phone and posted a victory clip before the blogs could even catch up. It was Justin Bieber doing the "clock it" gesture, the universal sign for "time is up," delivered with smug energy that made her celebration feel pointed. It looked like a digital victory parade, a taunt thrown at the world, almost as if she wanted to say, "You doubted us, but we are still here." But that celebration aged like milk. Because then 50 Cent entered the chat. When 50 dropped his Diddy documentary, the internet shifted on its axis. It was heavy, unflinching, and detailed in a way that suggested he had been saving receipts for years. People watched not because they expected to hear excuses, but because they knew 50 Cent has no fear, no alliances with Diddy, and no reason to soften anything. The documentary hit hard. It stitched accusations together with patterns, testimonies, and timelines that made even skeptics uncomfortable. And here is the thing, it did not have to focus on young Miami specifically. Simply shining a spotlight on Diddy's alleged behavior automatically dragged everyone in his orbit back into the conversation. Including her. Because once viewers replayed old clips, reread old tweets, examined her interviews, reconsidered her online fights, and remembered how she always seemed to leap to Diddy's defense with suspicious timing, a new question rose to the surface, sharp enough to cut through the noise. What exactly was young Miami's role in all of this? Was she a lost bystander? A victim trapped in the system? A willing participant who enjoyed the perks? Or something else entirely, someone who benefited from Diddy's empire while helping uphold it? The public is still trying to answer that question. And every new revelation makes the line between innocence and involvement blur just a little more. Every clip of young Miami sitting beside Diddy at parties suddenly took on an entirely different meaning. Moments that once looked glamorous or carefree now looked like scenes from a psychological thriller. Every time she let out a laugh at one of Diddy's questionable jokes, viewers wondered what she might have been hiding behind that smile. Each interview where she defended him or brushed off allegations transformed, in hindsight, into potential red flags. And the internet did what the internet does best, it turned into a fully staffed detective agency overnight. People began dissecting timelines, rewinding clips, zooming in on facial expressions, analyzing the tone of her voice, comparing different interviews, and digging through old live sessions where Miami appeared unusually tense or overly defensive. Rewatching everything with the new context made the entire situation feel eerie and unsettling. People remembered how she once described her relationship with Diddy. She never called it a relationship. She never called it casual. She always described it like something floating in the middle, undefined but heavy. Something about her phrasing always felt coded, like she was speaking around the truth rather than through it. There was always a strange tension in her interviews, a sense that certain sentences had been rehearsed, memorized, or carefully approved. She would insist she was independent, carefree, and unconcerned, but the subtext always felt like she was navigating invisible restrictions. And once the public pieced together the allegations about Diddy's alleged control patterns, people began connecting dots they had ignored before. If he had allegedly controlled so many people, why would she be exempt? And if she was not exempt, what did that imply about her involvement? Some argue she was manipulated. Some argue she was complicit. Many believe it was both, an ugly, tangled mixture of ambition, loyalty, financial gain, emotional dependency, and the psychological pull of a powerful man who knew how to blur boundaries. The entertainment industry has a long history of constructing relationships that appear glamorous on the outside but are structured like contracts behind closed doors. Young Miami's involvement with Diddy now appears to many as a textbook example of an arrangement that may have begun as a career booster but slowly slid into something darker. But things grew even more complicated when 50 Cent's documentary reignited the conversation. People did not just revisit her statements, they revisited her silences. The moments where other women stepped forward with allegations. The moments when victims were speaking out, trembling as they shared their stories. The moments where the accusations were stacking up like bricks being laid into a courtroom wall. During all of this, Miami remained silent. No expression of empathy. No acknowledgement. No solidarity with survivors. Instead, any time Diddy trended for disturbing reasons, she would suddenly go quiet or post vague, cryptic messages that sounded more like loyalty signals than personal reflection. Now, the public does not want silence. They want accountability. They want clarity. They want the missing pieces. They want to know what she saw, what she heard, what she knew, what she allowed, and what she may have contributed to. And when Jaguar Wright claimed that the phrase, "Kershaw please," came from the things spoken at Diddy's alleged freak-offs, many dismissed it, until the puzzle pieces began lining up far too neatly. Too many insiders claimed that certain women were hired to make guests comfortable, to guide them, to ease them into the environment. Too many victims described similar setups, identical recruitment tactics, and familiar faces. And now people are wondering if Miami was one of those faces. They are questioning whether she selected guests, whether she reassured them, whether she played the friendly role that concealed the darker tone underneath, and whether her violent online outburst at Gina, where she bragged about having the power to force her onto her knees, was not just an insult, but a crack in the mask that exposed the truth. What makes this even worse for her is that young Miami built her brand on being bold, unfiltered, raw, and unapologetic. Normally, that works in her favor. But now, every shocking thing she says gets interpreted as a confession she does not realize she is making. Every comment sounds like evidence. Every joke sounds like a breadcrumb. Every brag looks like an admission. And her celebration of Diddy's legal victory only made the public angrier. Even if she genuinely believed he was innocent, the optics were disastrous. It looked like she was applauding a man accused of life-ruining behavior. It looked like she was cheering for the collapse of survivors' hope. It looked like loyalty to power rather than morality. That moment became a screenshot the internet will never forget. So now the pressure is rising, hotter and louder. People want investigators to look at her as well. Not because they want to destroy a young woman, but because if she was part of something harmful, whether willingly or unwillingly, the truth matters. The survivors deserve answers. The public deserves transparency. And the world deserves to know the full scope of what was happening in those rooms. Because young Miami was not in the background. She was in the very front. She was backstage. She was in the flyers, the photos, the videos, the private jets, the penthouses, and the parties. She was in the rooms where everything allegedly unfolded. And now the world wants to know what she did in them. The internet has not stopped talking since that documentary dropped. One of the loudest conversations is about how certain people around Diddy, especially young Miami, appeared to be connected to the environment that allowed everything to continue for so long. Social media users poured out raw, emotional reactions. People said she helped him. People said she provided things he needed. People said she played a supporting role behind the scenes. Someone even posted, "Go ahead and put young Miami in jail too," which is obviously extreme, but shows the level of intensity and chaos swirling through the public. Another person wrote, "Watching the Diddy documentary and young Miami, you are a nasty girl," making it clear that many viewers already made their judgment, facts or no facts. The internet is blending emotion with assumption. When people feel betrayed by a celebrity they admired or entertained by, they look for everyone who stood beside them. Anyone who smiled beside the accused becomes a suspect. Anyone who participated in the lifestyle becomes guilty by association. And because Miami's connection with Diddy was so public,